Excellent. An ale for me. And for my officers. In fact, ales for everyone.
10 Backward. With Rick and Will and Gemma.
Oh, yes.
Hello, welcome to 10 Backward, a Star Trek discussion podcast from the UK. I'm Rick Everson, and joining me are my co-hosts, Will Turland.
Hello.
Gemma Turland.
Hello.
And Rick Palmer.
Aloha.
And we are all gathering to have our reaction discussion to the latest episode of Star Trek Picard. In fact, the last episode of this series. And it's something of a roller coaster for me anyway. I was up and down like crazy in this episode.
Like a bride's nighty.
You should have gone before you switched it on, Rick.
I should have.
And then you
Yes.
could have sat through the whole thing.
Well, that's true. Yeah, it's I'm getting to a certain age. I'm going every 5 minutes.
You know what you need to cope with that? You need a brand new robot body, Rick.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would help.
Well, there's no
all new
guarantee.
bits.
There's no guarantee that they'd sorted all that out, was there?
No.
Basically, said, we're giving you the same body.
Mm.
Yeah.
No augments, nothing. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Could you not have at least given me like a massive robo dick or something? You know, like a 4-inch penis, something unusually large. Completely inhuman. They were like, "Oh no, we ran out of robo penises. You actually have nothing down there."
Yes. You're like an action man.
Yeah. Ironically, that's the least wrinkly part of your body now.
We've, as we want to do, we've skipped ahead a little bit.
We've not only rushed ahead, but cheapened like some of the more emotional parts of the episode straight away. So,
It's what we do.
yeah, it is. It is. It's good, I think.
Mm. Yeah.
But man,
To be honest, I think
There
we've
is a
kind of
lot to
peaked
talk
for this episode. We might as well just shut
I think we
up
have,
now.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
yeah. I imagine a lot of our listeners feel the same when they get to about 2 minutes 30 into the podcast. Yeah, they should shut up now. Why do I even listen to this?
Every week, I download it.
Still the same old shit.
And that's just me listening through after Will's done the edit.
Guys, come on, we can do this. We can
You're right.
we can talk about the episode.
We should do that.
We should.
Yes.
So what? Just quickly, I guess, before we get into the guts of it, what was everyone's feelings? I guess good or bad
Good.
finale.
Good.
Good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, good.
Good with a dash of but.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I
That's
would
exactly.
say.
The dash of butts.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Yeah.
That's what they did to Picard's golem body. They gave him a dash of but.
Yeah.
Soup son of dick.
Snifter of eyes.
Sprinkling of toes.
Yeah. And so on.
That's how you make the body.
Started with the funnier parts of the body,
Yeah,
to be fair. So
unfortunately, yeah.
Mhm.
when it's my turn.
Gallbladder.
Mm.
Yeah.
But no, that's good. So we all had a similar kind of
Yeah.
reaction to it.
Yeah. So,
So should we? Do you know what we should do? We should start at the beginning of the
Yes.
episode,
Yes.
shouldn't we? And we go. We pick up kind of where we left off last week, but we go straight into Narek
Yeah.
running towards the Borg cube, and
Yeah.
immediately, cause last week I said, "Oh, that's it. I don't think we're going to see the Borg cube again." Wrong.
wrong
We do see it again.
for a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, it doesn't feel like it's actually an input. It feels like it's a location rather than a
Yeah.
key part of the plot,
Yeah.
sadly.
Mm.
And it turns out Narissa is okay. She's just been
Yay.
hanging out on the Borg cube.
She found a hidey hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Initially, I was confused by this because I thought I remembered her being on the Romulan, heading up the Romulan fleet last week.
But you never
That's
saw
that's
that.
Commodore
But you
Rowe.
saw-
No,
But you saw.
you're right.
You
you're right.
saw her being beamed out, though, didn't you? She was beamed away from that position.
Yeah,
I
it seemed
think
to like it
something was
visually.
on the fleet.
It seemed to there was like a visual cue. I felt of what was
Yeah,
happening,
yeah.
like because she beams out, and then we see the Romulan fleet kind of
Yeah.
warp away
Yeah.
to find the synth homeworld. So yeah, I was a little surprised by that, but it was good. You know, it was good to see her.
But I literally had misremembered who was in that final shot in the last episode. And it was Commodore Rowe and not Narissa.
Which would
but
make sense.
I just dreamed that I'd seen her.
Oh.
And so yeah, when I first watched it, I spent a lot of the first part of this episode just annoyed at the logistics. How did she get there? This is silly. Bloody Game of Thrones all over again, isn't it?
It is funny how in a Borg cube, which is like 27 cubic kilometers of a ship,
Yeah.
a lot of the main characters are near each other.
Yeah.
I know that's for the sake of the show. I do understand that, but it just made me chuckle to myself. Like this ship is vast. This is a vast ship.
Yeah, didn't Eric really have to sneak right past Seven? And
I know. And also the Borg sensors don't appear to be working, but Narissa's sensors are, because she can find him on this Borg cube, whereas all the Borgs or XBs completely unaware that he's even there.
But I don't know. At the same time, it was nice to see Seven and Elnor again. I was a bit worried they wouldn't have a part to play in the finale, and they did. So that was cool.
They did.
I guess we're sort of. I don't know how to feel about Narek.
I don't know how we're supposed to.
Yeah, are we meant to root for him, or are we because the crew all kind of accept him when he shows up?
Yeah, really
later on.
quickly.
To quickly
Once
join
again,
yeah.
Somebody says, "Hey, listen to me, believe in me," and everyone does because the plot demands it.
Yeah, I was a bit like, who even is this guy?
Raffi used to be a lot more suspicious of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Picard's damned optimism has infected her.
But also she's been proven right about that big old conspiracy that she told everyone about and no one believed in. She's still high. She's still high off that being right, I think.
And also, they know that the synths are not necessarily to be trusted, and I guess they know that there's possibly a little bit of truth in the
the Romulan prophecy is technically accurate.
Yeah.
So
and at least Rios has in a previous episode kind of said, well, what if they're right? What if we're in the wrong here? So he's sort of open to the idea, but they, as they point out in that scene, Narek did murder Hugh.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. His sister did.
His sister murdered. That's a good point, actually.
I still don't understand why we're trusting him. His sister murdered Hugh.
Good thing she didn't come along then.
I don't like you.
No? How do you feel about Gamadan? Because if we waste any more time fighting each other, we will all die, and then whether or not you like me will matter even less.
Narek hasn't actually murdered any. He tried.
He tried to murder Soji.
Soji's innocence. He murdered
He's actually one of the least murdery. He's less murdery than the main cast.
Yeah. Dr. Girardi's murdered more than he has.
Yeah. Everyone still loves her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Narek. I have to admit, I think I'm pro Narek. I think I've liked the performance of the actor's performance for the character, and there is something. I think there's something there in that character that I don't know. He's got nice hair as well. I like his.
He's got very good hair.
Jeez. You should get a Borg cube with him, and you'd hardly see it.
Maybe I will.
Rick would not be happy with the Borg cube because all of the accommodations
That's
they
true.
open out straight into like the main.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd just say, look, now, Rick, I'm really enjoying our time together, but is it possible that we could have some quarters where the doors don't open straight onto the workspace? Because people can see my things.
Also, these corridors are slippy.
I wouldn't do any of that sliding sock bullshit. Like, finally, the last person I dated was all about that. And I'm like, well, not this guy. I wear socks purely to be inside shoes and form a layer between my feet and my shoes. And that's it. That's how I feel about socks. And he's like, come here. Then we make mad, passionate love. Oh, I'm gonna write this down. Wait a minute.
Yeah, this is brilliant. Oh, I've actually got a boner. I had that before we started. Yeah, it's unrelated
And unrelenting.
All right.
Sorry.
Not at my age.
Like 20 minutes.
That's optimistic.
We're particularly all over the place tonight, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean,
I suppose alongside what's happening on the Cube and then La Serena, we've also got Picard under house arrest at Synthville, and there's this opening scene where I think I read too much into this. I thought this was connected to what happens later on, but I don't think it is. Where like an android, I'm guessing it's an android butterfly, flies into his room and changes color, and I don't know. I think I read more into that than I think was there, but I like that scene.
Yeah, it can't have because he had a memory of his death. Therefore, the recording of his brain was as after his death.
Yeah, it wasn't like a mind recording butterfly, which I thought it might have been for some reason. But then,
that makes sense.
The sort of symbolism of that butterfly is repeated
massively,
towards the end a lot. So,
but I guess the symbolism is the symbolism of finite life.
Yeah, rather than literal butterfly USB sticks.
Yeah. I guess a butterfly does sort of. It's a caterpillar, and then it turns into a butterfly, doesn't it? So,
yeah,
I'm not sure that's what I don't think that was what they were going for, but yeah.
Anyway. I also like that scene just for the sheer joy that Picard takes in the butterfly. That it just reminds us all that he's at heart he's an explorer, and this is a new. Obviously a familiar looking type of life, but a colour changing butterfly, that's just, he takes that small joy, even under house arrest in a serious situation. He takes that little bit of joy in finding something new in the universe as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'd not thought of it like that. Yeah. And then, so we see a bit of Dr. Jurati in these early scenes, and we sort of quickly discover that maybe she wasn't on the side of the synths after all. She's
not been brainwashed into their cause.
Not this time. She's kind of a double agent. And she she plucks out the that earlier murdered android's eye and uses it to bypass the retinal scanner, I guess, and get into Picard's room and bust him out.
Indeed.
Which I wasn't expecting that. I really didn't know where the character Jurati was going in the finale. It was nice to see her back on side, actually.
It was. No, I like what they did with Jurati in this one.
Yeah.
I like how she ended up. Although, still a few qualms about how
she did.
Everything is forgiven.
Yeah. She there's a lot of kind of joking around, and she's pretty happy in this episode a lot of the time. Doesn't do any throw ups, but she has still murdered a man, and I don't know. She hasn't. She sort of got off with that one, hasn't she?
Really has.
Well, some comments from Michael Chabon, the showrunner, indicate that they are going to address this in series 2.
Okay.
So I don't think it's entirely forgotten.
Okay.
But yeah, it does seem like
maybe
a happy ending. That maybe everyone's just forgotten about her doing murders.
Yeah, maybe in the opening episode there'll be a scene where Picard's like, "It's really bad that you did that murder last year," and she's like, "Oh,
Still quite cross about that.
I know. Stop going on about it." And they sort of just laugh, and then they just carry on.
Yeah, at least you're not throwing up though.
Yeah. But yeah, there's sort of a lot of stuff happens in the first half of this episode, and so everyone's kind of like, confusingly, the guys who aren't in the synth compound are trying to get into the synth compound, but then to stop the beacon, but the guys who are there hightail it back to the ship.
Yeah, they just leave, don't they? There's no kind of no resist. They managed to sneak past everyone.
Yeah,
even though apparently there's guards on the gate.
That was very convenient, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It almost felt to me like the writers were like, "Oh, hang on a minute, we've got everyone in the wrong place because we need Picard and Jurati up on the ship, and then right, let's say they come in." And they've got like Narek as like a pretend prisoner. We can have a reference back to the keepy uppy thing.
Hey, actually, earlier to that scene, we get to see Rios using the device that Arcana, which is essentially a magic wand.
Everything, the screwdriver.
And I don't mean that in a dismissive way. I mean that it seems to be a device that focuses a person's intent. Which is which is magic, basically. But I really like that scene. I feel like this series of Picard has kind of explored more sort of mystical, if you want to call it that, esoteric concepts than Star Trek. I mean, Star Trek was pretty good with that, actually, but this series has definitely seemed to embrace that, I would say. And I like that scene anyway with that device and how it worked. I thought it was pretty cool.
But what does it do? Like, how do I even...
Well, when Saga gave it to me, she said, you have to use your imagination.
Oh, she said that, did she? Well, I don't have one of those either.
Okay, well, Chris, this is your ship. You know what's wrong with it.
I mean, I guess it was a piece of technology that was so advanced to them that they could...
That it would look like magic.
Yeah.
Distinguisher from magic, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, magic is just science that we don't understand yet. So yeah. But yeah. I like that scene. I liked that it was included, and because I guess once they're given it, they have to use it, right? So
yeah.
So we would see it, but
they had to sort of introduce what it was a bit more, so that then there's a payoff when they use it again in this kind of space battle stuff.
Yeah, and she describes it, doesn't she? Jurati actually describes the
that's
items.
right. So it seems like she knows
which I can't remember.
Yeah, seems like it's the purple thingy. Seems like she knows what it is.
Yeah, she knows the basics.
Kind of how it works. Maybe she got it explained to her in more detail.
I think so. She's been looking it up.
Yeah, she's Googled it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked that scene as well. There was some nice Rios Raffi stuff.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah,
I thought that scene.
And then what's his face is throwing rocks at the ship.
Yeah.
And then they have that whole conversation.
They throw a few names at him.
They do. Oh yeah. They're initially cross with him. They don't warm to him.
No, but within 30 seconds, they've accepted him and invited him on board.
We're having a nice chit chat around a
around the campfire.
She's and of course
Elnor's back as well, isn't he?
Elnor's back. Yeah.
So prior to the La Serena guys going to Synthville with Narek as a prisoner, quote unquote prisoner, Narek kind of gives a bit more information about the prophecy that the Romulans believe in, and it was I like the mention of him talking about his ancestors arriving on Vulcan. It was a nice kind of inclusion of some backstory of the Vulcans and their history. I like that stuff. I like that Narek was a bit of a storyteller. It felt kind of like a bit like Lord of the Rings or something, like something that happened in the ancient past and is coming back. And there has been a bit of, it's mostly Elnor, but but there has been a bit of a Lord of the Rings vibe with this show, I found. I think it's like because it's like a fellowship and they're trying to do something and
an ancient evil that's gonna come back and what was it you were saying, Gemma? The name, what was the name of the
Garmadon?
Yeah.
Basically the name of the main bad guy in Ninjago.
That's what I thought.
That was
Garmadon.
How do you feel about Gamadan?
That for me, took something away slightly.
The sort of mysticism.
See, I just got excited about potential future crossovers.
Well, that entity could exist across realities, I suppose.
Well, he was just I'm
not. I mean, I'm just just being awkward.
Garmadon's just more of a jerk, really, than an ancient evil.
Yeah, because wasn't he like a good guy that got turned evil? If I remember Ninjago.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was.
So yeah.
The brother of Sensei Wu.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
anyway,
save it for the Ninjago podcast.
Yeah. So the episode pretty much, I guess it really reaches its sort of its kind of action climax, where they in a sort of a series of scenes where Picard is blasting off up into space to try and delay the Romulan attack fleet, and the gang back on the planet are trying to disable this signal before they've sort of built the thing. Brent Spiner's back on side.
Yes,
because he saw some CCTV footage of the synth chick murdering
the other synth
chick, and he's like, oh no.
I would say that's maybe my first slight niggle is that Sutra, her name was Sutra, right? Yeah. Sutra is barely in this episode. Actually, I mean, she was the main antagonist, I would say, in the first part. And I'm not saying that she had to be.
Was she more of a kind of? She was more of a character that convinced Soji, to go down a certain path, and everybody else. So I think she was more of a conduit, I would say, as a character.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it seemed like she was going to be more of a villain in this one, and she was manipulative enough to know how to get all the synths on side and building that beacon, and then it turns out that Brent Spiner's got an off switch
which I quite like. I like that. I like that he's not an idiot and he's got an off switch.
Did Data have an off switch?
He did.
Yeah, he had a physical one, didn't he?
On the back of his neck, I think. Riker uses it in Measure of a Man.
Yes, he does. Yeah, to make a point, doesn't he? Yeah.
I did chuckle to myself that the beacon that they make, it's a sci-fi trope, I think, and I understand why they do it. But it fires like a physically visible beam of light. Like it doesn't have to do that. Like it can just. Yeah, but it's less. I know it's.
on? Yeah.
I know
Is
they
it that-
probably
have
just
you
set
got
it to.
them
Yeah, they set it
lights?
to they set it to cool mode rather than regular
Yeah.
mode. So, but that made me chuckle.
One of my niggles about this episode is that the beacon thing, because they in the previous episode they talk about how they're going to send a signal out to the evil crazy uber synths, but in this episode it's not a signal. It's an energy beam that opens a portal. That's how I saw it on screen. Because then when they turn it off, it closes the portal.
But possibly along with the signal, there was the power to open the portal to send the signal through. See, that's what's going on in my head canon. But then I know what you mean. It wasn't. It was billed as send out this signal and we will come to you.
Yeah. Once we've got the signal, that's it. We're there.
Not open up the door and we will send our robo tentacles through.
And if you switch off the beacon, the door will close,
and we won't see us again.
We can't get through. So don't turn off the beacon. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just like well, that's not what they said it was going to be.
Yeah, it was I found the whole. Once again, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're right.
So where are we? So they snuck into the town.
Yeah,
Synth town.
Yeah, and they try and blow up the beacon.
Yeah, with their crazy football skills and the bomb inside the football.
Yeah, there's like two. There's like Right Said Fred. There's like Right Said Fred guys going there, and they say, "Hey, Right Said Fred, we got a prisoner, and I've got a football. If you want to have a keepy uppies," and they're like, "We love keepy uppies," and they let them through. And
they're acting like incredibly suspicious.
Yeah,
in that sense. I can't believe that. Well, I mean, I guess the synths.
They don't know.
They don't pick up on that kind of thing.
They don't understand.
But it's like, come on, look at these bunch of jerks. What are they up to? Think about it.
Why have they brought a football?
I really enjoyed the fake bringing in a prisoner. Oh, you prisoner. And the prisoner's going, oh, get off me. And he's going, I'm a prisoner. And he's going, oh, I'm going to be slightly rough with your shoulders. I quite enjoyed that scene.
I guess they're playing on the naivete of the synths.
I do think at least one of the synths would have gone. What?
This is convenient.
Why are
accessing all movies, all movies ever? Wait a minute.
We're summoning the Uber synths to wipe out all organic life. Why have they come back here with one prisoner? You'd think they'd just think, let's get out of here because we're all going to die. But I don't know. The synths, they don't think that.
Instead of the Right Said Fred androids, they should have had those doorknobs from Labyrinth. I always tell the truth, and I always tell lies, and so on. And then, like, if they get through that, they're like, well, that's all right. They've seen Labyrinth, and they've got a football, so they're good. Even though we got rid of them.
But I actually quite like that the ploy to destroy the beacon doesn't work, because once that happens, then you sort of find yourself thinking, well, what is going to happen actually? Like it I don't know, it kind of wrong foots you a little bit. I thought.
Yeah.
And it wasn't entirely expected. So I quite like that.
Yeah, they have a nice little conversation between Picard and Jurati that reminds me a lot of driving the kids to school in the morning, when the kids are arguing and trying to have a conversation with you while you're trying to do some, trying to get through rush hour traffic.
Are you not answering to build suspense, or?
At the present moment, Dr. Jurati, I'm trying to pilot a starship for the first time in a very long time without exploding or crashing. If that is all right with you.
Nope, totally. Good call.
quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, I quite like that. There was a bit of kind of, it made it feel like a real world thing that was happening.
Yeah.
Picard was like, trying to drive that. I don't really know how to drive this. I'm trying to drive it.
She's going, Picard,
Yeah.
Picard. Where are we going?
And he's like,
Picard.
right, that's it. You're not having any snacks when you get home. I warned you. Yeah, she's like, are we nearly there yet, Picard?
I need a wee, Picard.
Feel sick. He's like, oh god. Yeah. Then the Romulan fleet shows up, and all heck breaks loose.
Yeah, the flowers. That was, I liked that. I liked the whole shooting down of the flowers.
Yeah.
And zooping in and out of the flowers while they're being exploded.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of that stuff?
I liked it a lot. I did find that the Commodore O took a long time to. There's a point where they say where the flowers are sort of they're dealt with, and there's about 10 seconds where Commodore O could say annihilate the colony, and she's like annihilate it, and then and I know it's so, and I know it's allows something. I did like. I think around this point, Commodore O mentioned something like Planet Annihilation Plan Number 5, and that made me think of Mambo Number 5.
I like that they were going to sterilise the entire planet.
Yeah.
I don't think Lou Bega did a song called Sterilization Plan Number 5. It wasn't. It wouldn't have been as catchy, I guess.
Probably not. No.
It made me wonder. They've needed 5 different ways to sterilise an entire planet. It's like, dudes, what the fuck?
Well,
probably the first 4 are
maybe they were really inefficient, or they didn't work. Like the first one was like telling them all to go sterile, and that doesn't work.
Yeah, maybe it's in how quickly it's done. So some are done over a long period of time, some are just done immediately.
Second one is trying to make everyone think that everyone else is a bit gross. So
everyone's
they don't want to have touch them.
Sterilization Plan Number 4 is just making everyone really bored and can't be bothered to do anything.
Oh, well, boredom.
Yeah.
Boredom leads to.
Well, that's why they don't use Number 4.
Exactly.
And 5 is just blow everyone up. They're like, you know what? 5 is the most consistently
it's way
successful.
more efficient as well.
Let's do 5.
What's number 6?
I don't know.
They never had to go to a 6, obviously.
Yeah, it's too many. It's too many hot baths and hot showers,
and wearing tight pants.
Yeah,
that's number 7. But yeah, I really liked the space battle stuff. I thought it was really cool to see the flowers again.
Yes,
they look really cool. And I was a bit worried that we weren't really going to get any pew pew, and we got a little bit of pew pew.
We got a little bit of pew pew. Yeah,
I thought it was cool. It looked fabulous. Yeah, it was exciting. And we get the whole Picard maneuver thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
What?
Did I sense something in Rick's reaction to that?
I was excited when it happened.
Oh right,
okay.
No, there was air being sucked in through teeth.
I thought he was going to say, "Ooh, now the thing about."
It was good. It was a really good reference back, and it was one of those things where it's just like Dr. Jurati babbling, but it did lead into a workable plan in a nice way.
Yeah.
So it was a good combination of callback and babbling into a decent plan, which I liked.
It's always exciting when the Stargazer gets a mention as well. Isn't it?
Yes, I did like that she got that little bit wrong, and he had to correct her.
Yeah.
Like canon Nazi Picard. Actually, it was the Stargazer. You don't even watch Star Trek, Jurati, you idiot. You'd know it was the Stargazer.
I mean, their plan was a little bit daft, but I liked that it was. It didn't really work very well.
It didn't.
It was just a delaying tactic,
Exactly,
and it wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work brilliantly. I thought that was really good.
Because that was it. That was all he was trying to do, was just to buy time.
Yeah, and then you'd find this other one. What's going to happen? And then, of course,
talky feelings.
No, before that, a special man shows up, doesn't he?
Of course, yes.
A whole bunch of spaceships. Yeah.
Riker is straddling two of the starships. Shout, surprise, motherfuckers. It happened. I mean, in some ways, I'm really excited that we were right about that. But in other ways, I kind of think it was telegraphed a bit, wasn't it?
It was a bit, yeah.
But I don't care. I just want... he turned up again.
Yeah, I don't think it matters.
No.
Not least of all, Jonathan Frakes himself sent out a spoiler, which Rick Everson warned me about, and then I proceeded to find it on Twitter. Anyway,
looking for it.
I didn't. No, I
You
didn't.
went looking.
I didn't. It was an accident.
I mean, in fairness, they stuck his name in the opening credits, so even if I hadn't seen the spoiler, I would have seen that Riker was going to be in it because it said special guest star Jonathan Frakes. It's like, right, bit of a giveaway there. So
because in the picture that he'd posted on Twitter was of himself on the bridge of a starship in the captain's chair
in uniform.
Yeah.
Subtle.
Was that a redressed Discovery bridge?
I think it was. I did read somewhere that they actually did shoot his scenes in Toronto because he was kind of also directing episodes of Discovery at the time.
It looked good. I mean, it looked. I was just, I was just a little disappointed that it was all the same type of ship. That's the only thing I would. If I had to have a nitpick, I would say it was all the same type of ship. Whereas I like seeing different variations of ship in a fleet.
Yeah. There's been a bit of reaction on Twitter. A lot of people say there are actually, I think, as many as 4 different classes of ship in that. And I think when the Blu-ray comes out, you'll probably be able to make it out a lot better.
Right, okay.
Okay. I mean, even I thought there were some differences. But why would they?
All the same.
But why would they be that different? Because surely they would be the appropriate kind of ship for that situation.
But we've seen fleets before, and they've had a nice mixture of ships.
Yeah, but to me that doesn't make sense. Surely you have your appropriate ships for that situation.
But then it's not every day that Starfleet are putting together a battle fleet, is it? And so when we see the Dominion War, there are all sorts of different kind of ships.
But then I think the Dominion War would probably have driven a rethink in the way that they arrange their fleets, because there's a lot of fleets of like whatever ship you can get, throw it in. And I think that's largely driven because behind the scenes they had the models they had. New ones are expensive, and so they sort of always ended up having a bit of a mishmash of whichever ships they could drag out of the storage cupboard and put on screen. But I think in terms of Starfleet's world, they might sort of prepare their fleets a little bit, especially after the Dominion War. That's the sort of thing that would prompt a review and a thing. And also behind the scenes wise, they can only afford to make as so many new ships. Even CGI, there's still a lot of design, prep, and building work goes into those. And they have already done a bunch of new Romulan ships in there as well. So
that's true.
I kind of guess what I did like though is the ships are very very similar to the styles that we see in the Star Trek Online multiplayer game. They've definitely taken some design cues from that, because that's supposed to take place about 10 years after this series of Picard. So, but yeah, there's definitely some of the design lineage that you see on Star Trek Online is developed, reflected in that fleet.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, I would love to have seen like some familiar ships, like an Excelsior or a Nebula class in there. But realistically, those ships would be very old now.
Yeah.
So,
Still would have been cool though, wouldn't it?
Oh God, yeah. If they'd just put one Galaxy class in, and to be fair, they had made a Galaxy class model for this series, so they could have.
Oh, they definitely could have. How did you guys feel about? Because for a moment, it felt like there was going to be a Romulan Starfleet battle, because Commodore O says, "Prepare to fight."
Yes,
it's like, oh, come
Change of
on,
orders.
and then they don't. And to me, it felt very Star Trek. It felt so TNG.
To me, these are a band of zealots. They have been zealots for generations. In the end, they just fair enough. We were wrong, and then they go home. And and we don't want to fight because that would be tricky.
They are turned back quite easily. I mean, I guess so the thing is, Picard does a speech, and he does a speech and makes sure that everyone can hear it.
Yes.
The Romulans, Riker, and everyone, and it's a good speech. It's convincing, and he kind of basically says it's like he's trying to prove to Soji that he's, that he's sort of willing to kind of sacrifice himself to save the synth and give her the opportunity to make the right choice.
I have something I want to give you and your people, and I hope it will change your mind.
And what's that?
My life. Picard out.
I thought that was pretty good, actually.
Yeah,
I liked that speech that he did. I was convinced by it.
Yeah. I also liked as he made the speech, Riker starts to grin because Riker's all like, here we go. He's still got it.
Yeah.
He's going to talk everyone out of an expensive battle.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and Soji, she doesn't just turn off the beacon, she punches it.
She punches it to death.
She could have just pressed the button. I mean, it's a bit over the top, Soji.
Yeah.
Clearly her drama queen algorithms kicked in.
Yeah. Yeah, it could have gone wrong. She could have smashed it, and then it locked it.
Exactly.
She's like, oh no.
Whoops.
I've broken the off button. And they looked like there were some weird kind of crazy mechanical snakes that were going to come through the portal, and they didn't come
from a hell zone.
Evil robo snakes.
Hell zone.
Yeah. I was thinking that that CBS Studios are going to get a letter from the Union of Squids, Insects, and Spiders saying, "Dear CBS Studios, please can you desist in portraying all ancient evil god aliens as looking like squids or spiders or insects, because we're getting really sick of it."
Personally, there's persistence into I was massively disappointed, I have to say, about how they depicted the ancient synth as robo snakes, as a synth hell dimension, robo snakes, robo squid arms. That's not what I was picturing.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we don't know. Those kind of snaky things might have been like the first wave of things that they send through. Maybe they're sort of like their scout ships.
Yeah.
Maybe they're coming through to see what's going on. I don't know. We don't find anything out really about them other than it's a real thing. The kind of whole stuff around the prophecy, it does seem like it's real, and the things that were going to come through with the Uber synths, but they shut down the signal, which closed the portal, and yes, we'll never hear from those guys again. Until season 2, maybe?
Possibly.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they'll just have a new thing, a new MacGuffin.
Yeah. But then the kind of the most important part of the episode, that as you think it's it's slowing down, the most important stuff happens, which is Picard dies.
Yeah.
He's successful, isn't he? He wins. He saves the day.
He does.
So,
He does. Yeah,
and
guy's a
then
hero.
yeah, and then
I think Dr. Jurati does a second murder of the series.
No, we talked about this.
And injects him with some stuff that will keep him going for a bit longer, but will definitely kill
he
him.
told her to, fully aware of
She
what
couldn't
would happen.
wait. She had that hyperspace ready to
She
go.
didn't want to, and he told her to because it was more important that he succeeded in this than he lived.
Yeah, he was
you're
like,
so down on her
Jurati,
now.
I need 20 cc's of what the hell? Oh,
yeah,
ready to go for
Jurati is a bit of a Harold Shipman, I think.
No, oh man, you guys, since you've been slighted, since she's not the ditzy little, you're just down on her now.
I was never into that ditzy stuff. I didn't dislike her, but as soon as she murdered Bruce Maddox, I was like, wait a minute. You seem to enjoy that a bit too much. Yeah, even when you threw up about it.
In fairness, Picard did specifically ask for 20 cc's of murder juice, and
he did.
And Dr. Murderati provided it without a second thought.
She couldn't wait. Wouldn't it be great if just after she'd injected him, Picard went all wide-eyed and he was like, "Murderers! Assassins!"
Yeah, judo chop. Like
that isn't what happens. So Picard dies, and I have to admit, when I watched this first time, I was pretty convinced they were actually going to kill him off. I was devastated and slightly annoyed because we had talked in the last episode about how if that happens, if they do kill off Picard at the end of the series, it's gonna end on a real bum note. It's gonna feel like they brought him back.
There's no way they were gonna do that.
I thought
I have no idea why you thought that was going to happen.
Because he died on the screen. We saw him die on the screen.
There was no chance that he was actually going to stay dead.
Everyone was sad.
See it. No, I couldn't feel emotion in that scene because I knew that he wasn't dead. Because they'd already once again they talked about the golem earlier on in the episode.
Well, that was a red herring. That was never going to come into play.
And it wasn't over yet. There was still plenty of time to go.
Maybe you couldn't feel emotion in that scene, Gemma, because your brain had been imaged into an unfeeling robot.
Yeah, that's what.
Jeez, Rick.
To be fair, Gemma, he makes a good point.
That's very racist against robots.
No, I specified that was you were into an unfeeling robot. I didn't preclude the existence of a robot you could feel. It's just luck of the draw that you got the unfeeling robot body.
Well, I couldn't afford the feeling one, so.
Well, look, I was, I'd had a tall whiskey at that point. I was very caught up in the episode, and I thought
tired
that's
and
it.
emotional.
I was really tired. My brain was too tired to think logically, and I was just thinking emotionally. I was like, they've done it. They've killed him. No,
the mad bastards.
I was with you, Will. I thought that was it. I thought they'd killed him, and I thought, as sad as I was, I thought, well, it's a great way to go. Like you saved the galaxy. Like you did everything you wanted to do. Yeah. It wasn't like a. So yeah, I for a while I thought, and because of everything, and for a while afterwards as well, like there are scenes with other characters, and there's a scene with Elnor and Raffi where Elnor is absolutely devastated. That was very moving. That was a very moving scene.
Yeah. Right. That brings me back to the point where Picard was dying. He looks at him and says, "Oh, Elnor!" And then he dies.
Left you again.
Yeah. He should have gone, Elnor, I'm feeling a lot better. Side.
Come closer.
Elnor, yeah. And Elnor was like, why are you like this? Why was I ever friends with you? Grandad Picard.
Oh, it is sad though, because poor Elnor, all he ever wanted was a dad. And then when he just breaks down with Raffi,
Yeah.
And then as my wife pointed out, while watching that, for that minute, Raffi got to be a mum.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
Let it all out. You cry. I got you.
Quite a sweet moment.
It was, and it was a really nicely played scene. You know, there wasn't really any dialogue as such. It was just, you know, two actors being their characters and expressing some emotions, and it was, you know, I thought it was great. I thought it was that was the scene where I thought, that's it, he's definitely dead. But then the very next scene, it's like, there he is. Oh,
Yeah.
He's not dead.
He's not dead.
But that leads us into an absolutely fantastic scene where we get the real Data back, for real, in some kind of quantum simulation.
Yeah.
It was just lovely to have the real Data back for a little while.
Yeah.
It was great.
And I think they did a really good job with the makeup and de-aging effect. This particular scene.
Yeah. I did. There were a few points where it's kind of mean to say that. I kind of thought, does Brent Spiner remember exactly how to play Data? Because he seems like he's playing him just a very bit different.
How many years is it since he's played it?
Yeah, and you could say when your headcanon is like, this isn't the physical Data. This is Data's consciousness, effectively.
Who has been existing since, you know, so he's maybe changed.
Yeah, he's just, he's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's kind of, when you consider it, Data's basically existed for several years now, just inside a computer as a simulation of himself on his own. I mean, you know, it's not a great way to go about your day.
It's not ideal.
It would have been really interesting if Picard woken up and he was basically in Data's nutty room, and there was like stuff scrawled all over the walls. And Data was butt naked and doing crazy voices like he did in Masks. Yeah. Right, it's Iranu. He's back. Whatever he was called.
Corgano, isn't it?
Yeah.
Iranu's from Shooting Stars.
Iranu indeed.
Iranu indeed.
Yes. But no, they don't go down the nutty Data route. They sort of play it more for feeling, I suppose.
Yeah, massive feels.
I mean, normally they're always up for giving Brent Spiner a chance to do a bunch of silly voices, but yeah, I'm kind of glad they didn't this time.
Yeah,
I think it would have undermined the moment.
I always feel like it felt like a dream, maybe like Data's afterlife is a sort of dream in a way.
Yeah, and Picard does say that he thinks he's dreaming, doesn't he? And he wakes up. But it felt like the purpose of this scene in a way was to give us a chance to say goodbye to Data in a way that we didn't really get to do in Nemesis. It was almost like another shot at doing Data's death.
Yeah, it was the closure on Data that we didn't really get from Nemesis.
Yeah. And for that, I really liked it. But there's a part of me that thought, well, why? What a tease! You know, we're finally back with the real Data, and it's not a dream. It's a simulation. So it's Data's consciousness. like, Data's back. And Data's like, oh, guess what? I want to die. Gee, really?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a beautiful moment. I thought the whole thing was rather beautiful. And I think if you just want Data back as normal, as Data, Data 2.0, I think that would really cheapen it.
I had a much better idea
everything.
because the final shot, you think maybe they leave it open, okay, and you don't see Picard shutting down Data's program, or whatever. Picard gets he's back on his ship, everyone's there, and Picard's like, and maybe Jurati's like, oh, everyone's here, we're ready to go, and Picard will say, not quite everyone. And the door opens. And out walks not just one Data, but 5. And there's 5 flipping Datas. And they're all doing different crazy voices. And Picard's like, oh no. All setting up for season 2, the season of the Datas. What do you think? That could have been a way to...
It could have been.
No.
That is one way.
I think I'm glad they did it the way they did.
Oh, guys.
No, I didn't get the feels when Picard died, but I did when Data did. I was welling up during that scene when he was pulling out the...
Yeah, that was really nice.
I was dying.
Yeah.
He was holding onto the hand of Captain Picard. Oh!
And then seeing him sort of age and fade, it's like, oh.
Yeah. It was beautifully done.
It was.
It reminded me a little bit of 2001 Space Odyssey when Picard started pulling out those sort of chips, those USB sticks. But it was nicely done. I just selfishly wanted Data to still be alive in the Star Trek universe so he could show up again in season 2. That's what I wanted. But this felt right for the story.
Yeah.
And there's some really nice stuff around. When they talked about the what makes life feel important, all of the most important things in life are important because they're finite, and this whole thing with the butterfly and how would it really be a butterfly if
it never died.
That was really nice. I thought that stuff was great.
Mortality gives meaning to human life, Captain. Peace, love, friendship, these are precious because we know they cannot endure.
And it felt like that was kind of a big theme of the whole series in a way.
Yeah. I mean, except that Picard definitely doesn't want to die.
Yeah.
Well, no, he was disconcerted when he said, "You've not made me immortal, have you?"
Yeah.
No, just 20 years. Okay. Then 20 years, like, can I have 10 more years, please?
I liked all that. And
they made a real point. They almost sort of turned to the audience and said, "We haven't given him superpowers. Don't like he's not.
He's basically exactly the same.
Yeah.
He's just not dead.
Yeah, he's not super strong. You're not going to see season 2 where an 80-year-old man is punching a guy through a wall. That's not the way we're going to go with this."
Oh.
So, yeah, I know, right?
But he has interestingly taken the journey from being a human to being a Borg, to being sort of feeling slightly less than human, to being completely synthetic, physically synthetic.
Yeah,
being.
We don't really have time in the episode at that point to kind of explore what that means.
Yeah.
What that means to Picard. They do.
No, we don't. I'm sure it'll come up.
I'm hoping it will do.
Yeah, that was one of my bugbears with the episode, though, that it felt like they went at great pains to say, well, Picard is now synthetic, but it doesn't really mean anything because he's still old. He's got the same strength and stuff as he had done before. He looks exactly the same. He's played by the same actor. And I did find myself thinking, well, what was the point then?
Or maybe we'll find that out, and maybe there'll be maybe his new body will there'll be something. There'll be not a side effect as such, but there'll be a new aspect to his existence because of that.
I don't know that it's going to be. It's not that. It's going to be the whole morality and how you treat synthetic life, what you consider life to be, all that kind of side of things. I think they might be exploring rather than the, does he dream of android sheep and all that kind of stuff.
Does he have a robot penis?
Penis, yeah.
But his body is like Soji's, right? So it's basically like an organic body. They might have a positronic. I guess it has a positronic brain or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it. Yeah, I guess it would do, wouldn't it? It's good that they were able to make that golem exactly like Captain Picard.
It's handy.
Like exactly like Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what they should have done is had the golem look like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Picard's going to be like, "What the hell is this?"
My precious.
Once again, one of my ideas that they did not go for.
How many did you write in with?
Oh, so many. So many.
So the synths have shut down the signal. Picard is alive again. Everyone's happy.
Yeah.
The Starfleet fleet has gone home.
They just went. It did. I thought maybe it might have been sensible for at least 2 or 3 ships to hang around,
just
because
to guard them.
Riker's like, I'll hand it over to you now, Picard. Yeah. Well, hang on a minute. Picard's not really even Starfleet anymore, is he? So, surely Riker maybe just hang around for a few hours, just see how it pans out. I was hoping that that Federation fleet would shoot off, and then the Romulans would shoot straight back and be like, "You bloody idiots!
We're not going to give up just like that."
I think we just changed our mind. Sterilization, Plan 5. But no. I did think that it was it. We kind of needed Riker to go, because otherwise you would be asking, well, why wasn't he? Picard was dying. Why wasn't he down on the planet to be with his friend?
Yeah.
And then it's not really sort of his story. It needed to be his new crew that were with him, and I think they just had to get Riker out of the picture, really. At that point,
he would have dominated that moment if it had been him, and it was really for the new crew, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. I think. Yeah.
But why is it? But what is it? Why is Picard even on La Sirena anymore? If he's done his thing, hasn't he? I mean,
I think like when he's all like, it's time, and everyone gets ready to go. It's like, time for what? Where are you going? What are you doing?
That's true. Yeah, where are they going?
Maybe just for takeaway or something.
Maybe they're going home.
Maybe he's going to. Maybe they're taking Jurati to prison. Big murderer.
Well, they should. But yeah.
But part of the reason he went to the stars is because he wanted to go to the stars. So he wanted to go back into space. But also, where are they going? What are they doing?
What's the mission now?
It was like, right, so yes. I mean, I know that I've hired you basically since like episode 2. How does that work, and how much do I owe you? Because
but money doesn't exist.
Yeah. Because I'm really confused.
What? You mean money doesn't exist? How am I going to get paid?
About 3 episodes into series 2, Rios is going to say, "Look, I don't know what you're doing anymore. We're just flying around. This isn't your ship. You haven't paid me. Well, you either have to pay me or go home."
Picard would be like, "I've got the money. It's just resting in another account."
But did anyone else get the sense at the end, the last scenes at the end of that episode makes you feel like this entire season was him just getting his crew together?
Yeah.
And now they're going to go and do the actual story. Because they're all, finally, everyone's together. Let's go and do the thing.
Yeah, but what thing? What are you doing?
They'll find something.
Harvest time.
Yeah, let's go to harvest time. And also, we haven't spoken of Seven of Nines.
7 of 9
and
Raffi.
sexy.
Maybe.
Well, so I wasn't even there. I was
7 of 9
booting
and
Nerissa,
kicking her off the bulb cube.
I know.
That was quite well in keeping with most of the Borg cube scenes.
Yeah.
It was quite short.
Yes.
What did you guys make of Nerissa's end? If that was indeed her end.
Oh, I think it's pretty. Yeah.
I didn't mind it. I just kind of felt like, I don't know, like I felt like Nerissa would be more involved in that story. It seemed like her involvement was sort of just, perhaps the writers weren't sure what to do with her, and Narek was the character that was going to kind of carry on and be involved, and they thought, well, it'd be a cool way to have her get killed by 7 of 9, because she did kill Hugh, and at least it's fitting. So
yeah,
but I mean, I don't know. I didn't dislike Nerissa. I thought she was an interesting character, but perhaps it was just they didn't have enough time to do something a bit more interesting with her. Because she did good evil, but that was about it.
Yeah, I think she was another character who was probably not served quite as well as she could have been.
But Star Wars has shown that throwing someone down a massive pit and a spaceship doesn't kill them. So
no,
that's a really good point.
Yeah,
I would not be at all surprised if she came back.
Yeah,
maybe in a sexy synth body.
Ooh. But at least she got an ending.
But she beamed out when the Borg piled on her. So doesn't she still have that?
Yeah, that's something Will and I were discussing, because you were a bit confused about the fact that she was still on the Borg cube when it did seem that she beamed onto the warbirds or birds of prey. I can't remember. Don't get cross with me. But she never did. She just beamed to another part of the cube, apparently.
Yeah,
in the previous episode.
When we don't, what happens to? I mean, did Sutra? I mean, and other things that we don't know. I mean, did Sutra get reactivated? And what happened to Narek? Because if Sutra gets reactivated,
what happened to Narek? He just disappeared.
Yeah. So I mean, I hope that that's not the last we've seen of these characters for the most part, because they at least get to have some sort of proper leaving of the show and not just be not seen. I mean, Sutra, I don't know what they're going to do with the synth storyline, but I imagine that her animosity towards organics won't just cease because she got switched off.
Presumably it'll just grow.
So I wonder. Yeah, I mean, but I imagine this is stuff that they're going to work on for season 2. So yeah. I was hoping that we get like some sort of nod to season 2, like a post credit scene or something. Like, excuse me, like we were talking about in our last episode, like a reveal of Captain Crandall or something like that.
Yes, he was not. Captain Crandall was not evident at all, was he?
Maybe he was a red herring all this time.
Maybe he was.
Yeah,
he wasn't though, was he?
I never felt that Captain Crandall was going to go anywhere. A lot of people were all like, "Who's he going to be? Who's he going to be?" I was like, "I don't think he's going to be anyone." And thus far, I'm correct.
I thought he was quite heavily tipped, but I was wrong.
It's just because we got his full name. Like, if it had just been Captain Crandall, that's fine. But they seem to mention him a couple of times. Considering that, you know, there have been a few other mentions of things which have paid off, like Riker saying he's still technically active, but he's or whatever. I can't remember exactly what he says, but it is a show which kind of telegraphs things and foreshadows things. So
yeah, and it was odd that we had that detail about Captain Crandall being even older than Captain Picard. I really felt like that was something.
Yeah,
it could be. But, I mean, I still think it could be. I mean, I don't see any reason why it's not. But maybe they haven't decided what they want to do with that yet. Maybe that's a thing that they put into the script saying, well, we can use this if we want to. Like, it's a bit of fun.
Yeah.
It'll keep the nerds guessing,
Mm.
and we can use it. And they're going to love whatever we do with it, probably, as long as we, because they know. I mean, the writers absolutely know their audience, and I do think, to be fair, I do think this show has had a nice. It's not done too much fan service, but it's done enough for it to not piss off anything. Apart from, I don't know. It's a shame that Dr. Crusher didn't get mentioned, but it's going to be another season, so
yeah.
So I think so, and maybe maybe with Picard now being sort of an organic synth or whatever he is, maybe he'll have to go to Starfleet Medical and stuff and get examined and things like that. Maybe he won't be allowed to return to. Maybe now he's got this body, Starfleet are going to be like, well, wait a minute. Even though they've lifted the ban on synthetics, they'll still be kind of curious about what he is and. And there'll still be. I'm sure there are still elements within Starfleet that will be suspicious. I mean, Section 31, if they're still going, and so maybe Picard's new sexy wrinkly body that'll cause him some problems, both kind of mentally and in his life in general. Maybe that'll be the driving force of season 2.
And I imagine
and it'll be like a flip, like Soji will be guiding him this time around rather than the other way around.
Another thing that was not completed, the storyline that never went anywhere was what was Soji and Daj's missions.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Why was Soji on the Borg cube? Why was Daj on Earth?
Yeah.
And what
apparently Soji had
doing?
completed her mission.
Yeah.
But what were they supposed to be doing?
Because I thought in the previous episode maybe I'd missed some dialogue around that, but when I watched it again, they don't explain what it is that they were doing, unless we're meant to just assume that they were sort of
observing or something.
Yeah, observing and getting information. But why did they erase their memories and made them think they were human? Unless they needed them to think that, because if they were discovered to be synths because of the whole ban, that'd be difficult.
Or was it something to do with Beautiful Flower and Sutra's sister getting killed?
What were the Romulans actually up to on the Borg cube? Why were they there anyway?
Did it kind of go nuts? Did the Borg cube fail in their space?
Maybe.
And because of the treaty with the Federation, because of what was happening with the Federation helping them, I think there was a spirit of cooperation, and they allowed the reclamation project. I mean, these are very good points. Like they're little things that seem to have not been fully addressed, and I think they're vague plot points, so they don't quite make sense. But Jem, I thought the same thing. It felt like it was something that kind of it explains their presence on Earth and at the Borg cube, and then it's mainly used to explain their presence where they are when we first meet them.
How does everyone feel about the series as a whole now that we've come to the end of it? Do you think the finale kind of elevated it, or took something away from it, or
I enjoyed the series. I thought it was really good. I would probably give it like 7.5 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10 overall. One thing I am wondering is that this season seems to have dealt with the issues that Picard was facing that kind of led him on this adventure. So what is he going to be doing next? Is he kind of reset in a way to the Picard that we know from TNG, who's focused now and he knows what he's doing, or and I think it did a good job of being including things from TNG, and it like we were saying before, it did a good job having a bit of fan service, but also being its own thing. But I have to admit, there's part of me that thinks that if this season had ended with him actually dying, that would have been a perfect end to that show. And they could have found a way for it to continue. It would have been, I guess, but considering the way that other captains have died and had their lives end on screen, this would have been a really good one, because he would have gone out saving the galaxy and being important and rediscovering everything that he thought he'd lost. But saying that, I'm really glad that he's still around, and I want this to carry on. And yeah, but overall, I've liked it. I liked it a lot. I think it's been good. How about you guys?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I mean, it's not that I've had not problems with it, but nothing's perfect. But I think it's ended well. I think it's ended. I think it had more of a feelings ending than a whiz bang boom ending. But I'm cool with that. And I get the sense that it's sort of built up the universe for season 2.
Yeah.
In a way. I mean, it did seem like it was a contained story in itself, but it's almost like it is constructed the universe to go on to season 2, and then that's the kind of almost the wider story. That's the sense I get.
Rick, Emerson, what did you make of the finale and the season as a whole?
I mean, first impression from it, I loved it. Every Friday has been an absolute joy to have Captain Picard back on the screen. It'll need some time to sort of all sink in, but generally, yeah, I've really enjoyed the story. Really liked where the stuff has gone. I've loved the development of Picard's character, and I'm finding it really good. Because it's kind of a very different format to Next Gen. TV's moved on, so we're doing a very different sort of a TV series, but it's adapted well, and we've had some moments that have felt like pure classic Next Generation, while still very entrenched in this sort of very modern storytelling stuff we have now. We've had some really big fan service moments, but it's not dominated. So I think having some time with the Rikers was great. As a fan service thing, but it did serve the character and the story for that point. So, I've loved it. Loved every minute of it.
Yeah, I think that the episode with the Rikers was maybe my highlight of the whole season. Actually, I think that's the episode I enjoyed the most, and I don't know if that's because of the fan service, and I'm a fan and I want to be serviced. Or whether it was actually a kind of that good an episode in its own right. I'm not sure. I was just going to say, but I really enjoyed the finale, and although I think we've nitpicked the finale quite heavily in this episode, as we always do, but I really enjoyed it. I felt it hit the right notes emotionally, and it was a satisfying end to that season, I thought, and yeah, I've loved this whole season. I've loved watching it every Friday and or Thursday night and doing the podcast and talking about it, and it's just been great to get really invested in it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's brought in some great new characters as well. I really like Elnor. I really warm to him. He's maybe my favorite of the new cast, of the new characters that have come into this world. I think he's been great. He's that sort of naive, his naive sort of warrior thing kind of really works, I think.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I think it's been great to see Seven again as well.
Yeah, definitely.
character.
I didn't think that it's a real treat that she's been in it as much as she had. I wasn't excuse me, I wasn't expecting that.
But yeah, I think it's done a great job of telling us about where the Star Trek universe is now, and what feels like the present in the Star Trek universe. Yeah, I think that's been really cool.
Raffi and
Raffi.
Seven. Raffi and
Raffi
Seven.
and Seven. What's the deal?
That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, right at the end, looks like there's a little bit of maybe a little something between Raffi and Seven.
A little intimacy there.
I
suppose we don't know the time scale between the end of the events and then them jumping off to wherever it is they're going. So
yeah,
because up until then they hadn't really had any time to get to know each other.
No, barely even a conversation.
Yeah,
I
don't think I've ever seen those two characters speaking to each other. So there must have been, some time.
Yeah,
between.
We don't know how long it took them to make that body look like Picard.
Yeah,
it could have been.
That's true.
Yeah, they did it. They did it first, and he came out looking like Chaz from Morph. And they're like, "Oh no, put him back in, and we'll try again."
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I just thought I was curious as to why they included it, and I don't know. Sometimes I'm happy with it, but sometimes things like that seem like it's almost included to. I don't know what the reason is for that, and sometimes it does feel like same-sex relationships are included in TV shows to show that they're including them. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, to be fair, you wouldn't have a heterosexual. You wouldn't do that with a male and female character. Oh, and they've just hooked up.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
They wouldn't have bothered to do that. So yeah, I think there is.
They kind of did with Rios and Jurati. All of a sudden, they've slept together.
Well, no, they were flirting for a while. For at least one episode, they flirted.
Yeah, it's minimal. I mean, it's 3 lines or so, but
that's all it takes.
Jurati was just feeling fruity because she was about to do a murder.
Yeah, you just got that murder horniness.
Yeah. But yeah, I was more confused by it and questioning whether I'd really seen it. And I don't know. Is that the reaction that you want your audience to have when you're sort of introducing the idea that some people might have hooked up or be in a relationship? I don't know. If it felt, it did feel a bit like a kind of a box ticking exercise or a kind of a thing to deliberately make fans go, "But it were."
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know. Did we need that? Well, maybe
we'll see.
Because in the episode where the first episode where 7 of 9 is kind of fully involved in the story, there's a bit of a frisson between her and the sort of crime organization lady.
I think there is a hint that they had a relationship, that they had a romance,
and that's fine too. I just
so yeah.
It's weird that when it comes to same-sex relationships, it feels sometimes that in television that defines the characters more than the stuff that they do. Whereas, like you were saying, Gemma, like in a heterosexual relationship, those people's those persons' heterosexuality, it doesn't kind of define them. It's not an important part of them. It's just natural, right? And but with same-sex relationships, it does seem like it's more important. And I get why writers want to include it, because it's important to kind of to
represent.
include it and make it and make the point that it's every day and it's normal and it's but if it's normal, then do we have to? It is confusing. I mean, as a writer, I feel like it must be an absolute minefield. But
yeah. But it should feel normal on screen.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't stand out.
It's not like a signposted. I think it's just something they in Star Trek they did pretty well with disco.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember anyone's name
Culber
and
we had time with them, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they were already an established relationship. There was nothing kind of.
Although I have to say, Dr. Culber is often, it feels like he's Stamets' boyfriend rather than a really good doctor. Like I don't think we've had an episode where Culber's had a doctor episode yet.
But you do have that with a main character. Stamets was the main character, and his partner was a secondary character. Therefore, his partner was the character of his partner, and I think you get that.
You
in
do get
any
that with
relationship.
heterosexual relationships as well.
Keiko O'Brien is a good point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She wasn't the character of a botanist. She was the character of the wife of O'Brien.
Yeah, and I think they built her into
they did.
a bigger
as
character.
She
but
went
certainly when she was first introduced in TNG, she was O'Brien's fiance.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much for listening, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been great. Really enjoyed doing these reaction Picard podcasts, and we'll be back in the future with more podcasts from 10Backward. Not quite sure what's coming next, but we'll see.
We will.
But do you think with us doing them remotely that we can keep up this this regularity that we've found?
I think we could.
Yeah, I think that we could.
So.
I mean, we're still in the midst of coronavirus lockdown, so we have to do it remotely at the moment.
Yeah. Self-isolation is often good for the podcaster.
We have other plans.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we're back soon, and stay safe, everyone.
Yeah.
Cool.
On that note.
Bye, guys.
Love you. Bye.
Do you realize how incredible this is?
It's tradition. You ever noticed her bum? What? Her bum.
Oh no!
I will say fewer things.
Okay.
Enough of this self-indulgence.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, our website is www.lowerdexradio.co.uk. You can reach us on the Twitters at 10Backward, 10 being the number and backward being the word backward. We're also on Facebook at www.facebook.com/10Backward podcast. You can also email us at crew@lowerdexradio.co.uk. On a personal, individual level, my Twitter is @WiltHerland. Rick Everson's Twitter is @TrekFanRick. And Rick Palmer's Twitter is @Mr. Imhotep.
Hi, thank you again for listening to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you might consider supporting us. We now have a Patreon where people can pledge small amounts to fund our ongoing projects like keeping our website up to date, new audio equipment as we're going along, and potentially opportunities to expand our content. You can go look at this at patreon.com/lowerdexradio. If you don't feel you can donate but would still like to support us, we would love it if you could subscribe to us on however you get your podcasts, through iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or we're on various third-party apps. And if you could leave us a review on any of those, that would be fantastic and we'd be very appreciative.
Thanks again for listening, and please tune in for more podcasts from the 10Backward crew.
Let's make sure that history never forgets the name.
10Backward?
Laddie, don't you think you should rephrase that?
10 Backward.
10 Backward.